Hello and welcome back to another episode of Trojan Talks. This is your host Troy Sutton, and today we're going to be going through another fitness one. So how to keep motivated 24/7. And I suppose a lot of people would look at me from an outside perspective and say, this guy just never stops. He's always working. He's always in the gym. He's always putting in that fucking work. And from an outside perspective, it always looks like I'm motivated 24/7. And, well, the truth is, I'll be bringing you guys through the harsh reality of it as well, is I'm not at all. But it's not about me today. It's about trying to get you guys in the mindset that you can keep working when you don't feel like it, because that's where the progress really comes in, okay? So step number one of having motivation, I like to use that word just because I feel like a lot of people understand it, but in my words, it would be discipline, okay? But motivation will come and go. One day, you'll wake up with zero motivation, and in reality, that's just zero discipline. But anyway, you'll feel like you don't want to do anything. You'll feel like the thought of going to the gym, the thought of sticking to the diet is just a burden. And that's where you can really let yourself slip. And that's where a lot of people have that all or nothing mentality, where they'll either go all or nothing in on achieving something and they'll work really hard, but as soon as they hit a road barrier or as soon as they feel a lack of motivation, that's where they go all or nothing in a negative downward spiral, where they're like, shit, I've fucked up today, I may as well just fuck up tomorrow, the rest of the week doesn't count, I've messed up all my results, and then they just go tumbling down the hill of negative, okay? Now, saying that motivation will come and go, there's definitely ways to help maintain it for a longer period of time and help sustain it throughout the days that you don't feel like going to the gym, you don't feel like sticking to diet, X, Y, and Z. Number one would be setting realistic goals. Now, of course, you've probably heard this hundreds of times, but how do you actually set realistic goals? For an example, if you're going into a fat loss journey, the last thing you would do is set a goal, and your first ever goal, to be your end weight. For an example, you're 100 kilo and you want to get to 60. That's a 40 kilo loss. Therefore, you're not setting your goal as a 40 kilo loss. You're setting your goal as a 2 kilo loss, a 5 kilo loss, a 10 kilo loss. And I can't stress the importance of setting short-term goals and long-term goals, because these short-term goals will help take you over to a point where you actually understand where you're going in your journey. It's like if you hit a short-term goal where it's like, get down to 95 kilos, you're just one step closer to getting down to your official end goal mark, okay? And sometimes a lot of people don't set those goals. And what happens oftentimes is they'll wake up on the day that motivation isn't present and they'll say, shit, I'm 35 kilos away from my goal. I'm not even halfway there. Shit, I'm not even a quarter way there, right? And that's when they just say, fuck it, throw in the towel. I'm just nowhere near it. There's no point. And they might have only been doing it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It doesn't matter. No one cares about the time frame. People care about not getting what they want when they want in that instant of time. Everybody, and you may not feel like this, but this is the harsh reality of what's going on in your mind right now. If you're watching this podcast, you're watching it for a reason. You want it now. And the fact that it's not in your palm now and it's not given to you, you're pissed off. Deep down, you are pissed off. You're talking to yourself like, what? I have to work for this goal? Of course nobody wants to fucking work for it. I mean, if I give you $1 million right now, you'd be happy. I'd be happy too. But I think the importance of understanding that this is never just going to be given to you and that you have to put in some work is key, okay? And when you understand you have to put in work, it's about finding balance around the work. Fitting that balance of work inside your routine, something that you can't literally say no to, that you just stick to on a daily basis. It's like a ritual, it's a routine, it's a regime, okay? So that's the importance of setting small goals, which will then lead into medium goals, which will then lead into bigger goals, which would be your end goal, 2 years down the line, X, Y, Z, okay? And an example of this small goal for fat loss would be 5 kilos. You could lose 5 kilos in 5 weeks if you're at a high enough body fat percentage. If it was muscle growth, you could add an extra centimeter onto your arms. Would that not be a short-term goal? So instead of your goal to get from 14-inch arms to 25-inch arms, shit, that's going to take some time. And every single week that you do your check-in with yourself, or however your form of progress check-in is, you're just going to be so fucking annoyed because you're not at your dream goal yet. Where instead, if you just had that little box that you could tick off, even though if the goal doesn't really mean a lot to you, it's still just a measure of progress that you're nearly at your end goal, okay? So I know your end goal, you're not going to get hyped about achieving 1 inch gain on your arm. You're not going to be hyped about it because you're still not at your end goal. But at least if you can have that visual representation of you ticking a box, of completing a goal, you're already putting yourself in that environment that, shit, I'm achieving shit. I'm getting somewhere here. And even though I have another 9 goals to tick until I get to my end goal, at least I've ticked 1 box. Because 1 box is better than 0 boxes. Because if you're never ticking a box, it almost feels like you're not getting anywhere. Doesn't matter how much progress it says on the scales, how much it says on the measuring tape, it doesn't matter. Because it goes in one ear, out the other with you. And that's why you need visual representations of goals to tick off, okay? Write it down in your notes of your phone, write it down in a book, write it down on a whiteboard. What is my goal? Whether it be for business, personal goal, self-development goal, read 12 books a year. That's 1 book a month. Therefore, your goal wouldn't be read 1 book a month. It would be read 5 pages a day. You know, that's how you really set goals. That's how you become motivated and create that discipline, because you're already going to inbreed that. It takes a shit ton of small goals to hit that end goal. And once you get yourself in that environment and understanding that sometimes it does take long to hit long goals or to hit big goals, whatever you want to call them, when you understand that, that's when you can take your own mindset to the next level. Setting realistic timeframes as well is key. So for an example, an easy measure of fat loss would be, we could say, a pound a week, depending, everybody is different on current body fat percentages, but 1 pound a week seems pretty reasonable. You could do that over a 20-week period. That's 20 pounds loss. So that means it would be a 20-week, 20-pound goal loss. Muscle growth, for an example, would be polar opposite. It'd be 0.5 pound to 1 pound gain per week. Business goals would be sign up 1 new client per week. Personal self-development goals would be practice gratification 7 days a week, would be, reach out to a friend, family member once a week and see how they are. This can relate to every single aspect of your life in which you want to improve. And you can really put this plan of action in place to achieve anything you want. Because the only thing that really stops you from achieving your results is not resources. A lot of people think it's resources. It's like, oh, I'm not that financially free or flexible that I can, buy chicken breasts every single day. Okay. Well, grilled chicken in Tesco or Super Value or Target is significantly cheaper. You have resources there, and I think it's just an excuse to hold your brain back to actually achieving this, right? And here's how a goal normally works, or achieving a goal normally works, is if your mind isn't in an environment that it can succeed in, it won't succeed. For an example, if you live in a household surrounded by overweight people, the chances of you being overweight is very high. And people will say, oh, it's genetics. It's really not. It's the chocolate bars that you eat, realistically speaking. Unless it's genetic that you have to eat 6 bars of family bars of chocolate in order to live. Is that genetic? Okay, maybe consult a doctor. But being fat is not genetic. It's not genetic whatsoever. What's genetic, I feel, is habits. And that's where that brings me into my next point is the importance of habits behind motivation and discipline, is building life habits that you can keep in your life and keep into your daily routine forever. Morals as well, I guess. So if you grew up in a household where your father, your grandfather, great-grandfather have all been overweight, the chances of you being overweight is fucking huge, unless you nail a certain aspect of your life where you tell yourself that you're not going to be overweight and you stop making excuses for yourself. Because as soon as you eliminate the excuses, it really puts you in an environment of pure success where, like, right, so there's nothing actually wrong with my life, right? Okay, yeah, I might not be able to afford, 7 chicken breasts a week, but fucking hell, I can't afford some ready-made grilled chicken that I could just microwave. And even if it's not the financial side, let's just say, for an example, I can't afford a gym membership. Then the last thing you would say is, oh, I can't achieve my results. I don't have a gym membership. Bullshit. You can do it from home. I've done it for the first 3 years of my journey. It's just what you have to do. With the resources that you have right now, you can make anything possible. Okay. Same with business. A lot of people say they can't start a business because they haven't got enough liquid cash to start it. You don't need liquid cash, because the beauty of online and the beauty of drop shipping and, this isn't a business podcast, but this is just proving the point that a lot of people will just make excuses to make it okay for them to fail. And that is what you've inherited from your parents, from friends you hang around with. And that's why a big saying that a lot of mothers will say, or fathers, is you are who you hang around with. And if you hang around with fat people, best believe you're going to be fat. And I've nothing against fat people, guys. Like, literally, my entire business is helping people struggling with weight issues. And I've helped thousands of people transform. Fucking hell, I love overweight people because I get to give them a second chance of life. Okay? And you shouldn't say that you're an overweight person. You should just say that you're a person that's struggling with weight issues. You're not an overweight person because, yet again, it's not genetic. You can make the change. It's just your mind that's stopping you make that change. Okay? So that's where habits, morals, environment will really play a part in your motivation. If you have a partner that suggests, let's not go to the gym today, let's just have a movie day with some sweets and eat chocolate, the chances of you saying, no, I'm going to the gym, second to none. Because you want to not impress, but you're comfortable. You're like, you're in a relationship. What, you mean I don't have to go to the gym, I can eat chocolate and watch movies? I mean, who wouldn't rather do that? Like, I would rather do that. But it's about your morals, it's about your habits, it's about your environment, okay? And if somebody is negatively holding you back, if there's somebody that you can spend less time with, do it. And I don't mean to, force you to fall out of relationships, but if there is somebody that's holding you back, whether they're not doing it in a malicious manner, it doesn't matter. It's like, this is why you need to distance yourself from friends that are doing drugs, because the chance of you doing drugs or being around drugs or getting in trouble for drugs, regardless if you're taking them or not, is high. So you need to distance yourself from those type of people. Anyway, now, I can't stress enough the importance of actually hitting your goals, okay? So as I've mentioned before in this podcast, it's easy to hit goals. Is it easy to achieve goals? No, that's the hardest part. But that's where the motivation lies. Because if you have a goal that you achieve, there's no better feeling, okay? No fucking better feeling. Because when you tick that box, or when you live that excitement of achieving something, you're fucking ready to go. You're like, what's next? Let's keep going. That was fucking easy. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. And if you have that aspect towards every single part of your life, whether it's professionally, getting not a pay rise, but getting a higher role. What's that called? Getting a promotion. Apologies. Getting a promotion in work. Is that your goal? Okay, so what your small goals are is come in every day to work with a smile. Always be the first one in. Always be early and always leave late. When you're asked to do something, do it there and then. Show people that you've got initiative to work hard and excel with the business. If you show people that, the owner of the business will acknowledge that because that's the same mindset he has. And that's why he is there. Okay? And if you fall down with the other employees that show up late, they're like, yeah, fuck work. We don't need to do this. We don't need to do that. Rebellious. If you hang around with them, you're going to be stuck on their pay. You're going to be stuck at their role and stuck at their level for the rest of your life. When instead you need to do the things that people don't do. Okay? Whether that's being a better employee, whether that's being a better partner, bringing your partner out for more date nights. Maybe it's saving for a holiday. Like, a lot of people will blow their money in the pubs at the weekend. You are able to live a life whichever way you want once you put your mind to it. And this is where it really relates to fitness here. It's like, if you're willing to do the things that other people don't, which is I'm not asking you to go to the gym every day, just go to the gym the amount of days that you said you would. Is it 3? Fine. If you tick your box 3 days a week on a Sunday, I guarantee you, when you sit down with yourself, and say, I've completed 3 workouts this week, the motivation will be through the roof. You're like, that was fucking easy. Let's just do it again. And I guarantee you, after 4 or 5 weeks of just doing something that's necessary towards your goal, you won't change it. It's going to be harder to binge and on something that's not your diet than just going off it. It's going to be so much harder to go off your diet than stay on it, because that's discipline. right? And this is where discipline lies, is consistency. Without consistency, discipline doesn't come. When consistency is present, that's when it proves to herself that, well, maybe this could be something that I could do on a more reoccurring basis. 3 workouts a week, I'll just do it, you know? And you need to really fucking put your mind to that, because if you're not willing to supply the consistency, you can't expect motivation to be there, which is discipline, okay? Another thing, and the last thing really, that can really help you with motivation is an accountability factor. When you start the gym with a friend, with a family member, with your partner, there is some form of healthy competition there, but it keeps you accountable. So for an example, you join the gym with your partner, or you start a new diet with your partner. Whoever gives up first is known to be one of those like failures. Like realistically, it's going to be like the loser of the relationship, not in a malicious way. It's not going to be like, oh, you're such a fucking loser. It's just a way that you guys want to impress each other. That's what it is, right? And it's the same as a friendship in the gym. One person always wants to squat more than the other person. One person always wants to put in that extra rep more than the other person and work hard. Because if you're by yourself, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. You don't push yourself to those levels, and you may think you do, but you don't. And if you're not making progress, okay, maybe there's genuinely something wrong that's exterior. It's not your problem. It's not motivation. It's not discipline. It's not consistency. Maybe it's just a lack of structure. You haven't got the right diet plan to follow. You haven't got the right workout plan to follow. And that's normal. That's fine. Because 90% of people that go to the gym will experience the fact of not knowing what they're actually doing. Some people are despised the fact of like, I know everything. And I mean, I don't even know everything. I'm always learning. And that's something that I've learned throughout life, is always be a student. Never, ever, ever, ever act like you know it all. Because if you're in a room where you're the smartest, you're in the wrong room. That's how I feel, truly. And I think what you need to do is take yourself up out of that fucking room and get into a room where people actually know more than you, because that's where you're going to grow. Whether it be more experienced lifters, whether it be getting a coach, okay? Shit, I have a coach. And a lot of people would ask me, Troy, why do you have a coach? You're one of probably the most successful online coaches at the moment. You have thousands of clients. You're achieving amazing results. You're in great shape as it is. Why do you need a coach, Troy? And I say, always be the fucking student. I have a coach that still checks in with me every single week, right? Keeps me accountable, keeps me driven, sets me goals. Because when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, it's never the same. And having that second pair of eyes looking in that mirror with you and saying, actually, no, Troy, I think you're being a bit stubborn here. I think you did see progress this week. Look at how your obliques are a bit more leaner than last week. And I'm like, oh yeah, I would have never seen that, because I'm a prick to myself. You're a prick to yourself too. And that's why having that accountability factor, like a coach there with you, is second to none, okay? If you guys do want a coach, or at least want to have a discussion about what coaching would entail, if you're the right person for the brand, by all means, just reach out to me, okay? Way to keep in contact with me would be Instagram. Is probably my go-to. You can find me at Troy J Fitness. You can find my day-to-day life by posting my stories of, you know, what I get up to, vlogs, etc. For more longer video form content, you could go over to my YouTube and get Troy J Fitness there as well. But message me on Instagram if you're truly serious about getting a coach and you want to achieve that next level and you want to truly be fit and get in the best shape of your life. Message me on Instagram and just say, help me. Just say, help me. Or I can leave a link below this podcast, which you can just click and you can fill in the application form to work with me one-to-one directly, which would probably be easier for a lot of people. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. It's been Troy Sutton, owner of Trojan Talks, and I'll see you all in the next episode.